We all prefer things a certain way, like groceries. If you want groceries just how you like them, you gotta try Instacart. They have a new preference picker that lets you pick how ripe or unripe you want your bananas. Shoppers can see your preferences upfront, helping guide their choices. Because when it comes to groceries, the details matter. Instacart. Get groceries just how you like.
Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones. I'm your podcast host, Tony Evans. This is a dark and light, yin and yang episode. I want to really push the notion that there is beauty in the blackness and there is also terrifying voids. In all extreme music, there is yin and yang. A lot of people don't think that, they run away from it. I've talked about it before, about the beauty within the darkness. But I was listening to Sarah from Antagonize's solo project, Self-Portraits in Black, the other day. And I was thinking how beautiful this particular album was, this solo project entitled The Blessings of Suffering. And then at the same time, that afternoon, I listened to Witch Club Satan's first album again, because I've listened to it a few times, and realised that this was the other side of the coin. That it was extreme, but there was beauty in it, but extreme, very, very extreme. And I thought, I'm going to talk about it on the show. I'm going to show that the coin that you flick in the air when it comes to extreme music, you can either get heads, it's beautiful, tails, it's very dark, or you can get on this edge and get both. We're going to open up with Sarah. Now she's a friend of the show and a friend of mine. We've talked to her on the show now a couple of times. At the Halloween episode, it went off track and just talked about music instead of movies. We've talked to her for her and her partner Zoot Wei for Antagonize about the album. I've reviewed the album itself. I love her work. I think she's a very talented woman. And she's had a very, very tough year. Like a lot of us, last year was quite a tough year, and through that year she produced this brilliant solo album under the title The Blessings of Suffering. Now, it is a journey through her emotional experiences. There's some of the music that she has recorded before that she has pulled back, redone and put up for this. The very first thing I heard from this was Cascade, only like a minute or two of it, or 30 seconds of it, I should say, and it just blew my mind. Now, there's a lot of instrumental pieces on this album. I'll read out to you what she sent to me. Sorry, Sarah, if I muddle your words. Self-Portraits in Black is a solo project, punk/ambient project created by Sarah of Antagonizer, Von Nacht and Infernal Blasphemer. It's another band I forgot she's in. Brilliant, okay? This music sharply contrasts with the heavier music she generally plays, but the inevitable darkness is still present. These emotionally charged songs were created over about 1 year's time to express the love, sadness, anxiety, grief, and serenity that Sarah's experienced in her life. Some of these songs were previously released as Von Nacht of the Reaper and The Night about a decade ago, but they have since been remixed and mastered. The former frontwoman of death rock band called Otrax, and often compared to Susie Sue, Sarah brings back the classic gothic vocals that she has refined over many years. Sorry about butchering that last bit. I'll read it again. She was previously released as Von Nacht stroke of the Reaper and the Night about a decade ago. They're the two bands. Anyway, I had got that little blurb after I had written my notes, so it was interesting to see that we were on the same level. Now, this album, it's only a shortish album. It's 43 minutes long. It is available on. I listen to it on Spotify, but I'm sure it's on other streaming platforms. If you are a fan of 80s goth post-punk, so the proper early goth post-punk stuff. Now, I like to give my listeners, when I review an album, like tasting notes for music, right? Like as if you're just drinking a nice glass of wine or a fine scotch. I think that for me, I hear in this, and she admits to it about Susie Sue. Susie Sue, massive in there, okay? But I'm also hearing, I also hear Bauhaus, Cabaret Voltaire. I hear Gang of Four. I hear early OMD. Very much, that's Orchestral Rivers in the Dark. I hear the Mission, Sisters of Mercy, Fields of the Nephilim. Definitely Susie Sue. I mean, The Scream, the first album, this definitely sits in that kind of spiritual, achingly beautiful but dark albums. I genuinely think this is probably one of the best of its kind I've ever heard. I sat through this 43 minutes, and when I came out the other side, I was serene. Listen, you're not gonna believe me when I say this. I hope you do. I went in it. I was having I'd done a 12-hour day at work in a rather stressful situation in intensive care unit, and I was at home and I thought, I'm going to put this album on because I need to listen to it because I really need to get deep into it. And by the time I came to the other side, I was rested and happy. It really strange because when you listen to it, there are moments of very much sadness, but it's just one of the most. It is so well crafted. Some of the motifs, both musically and lyrically, are just. I can't keep. As a friend of mine, Sarah and I talk a lot, and she often is quite not understanding why I like her music so much and why I think it should be appreciated. Like most great artists, they don't see the reason why people like it. This is one of those times, we chatted. I don't understand, and I think that what people misunderstand is great artists, and she is one, have many colors on their palette and have many tools of which to play with, and this one is one of them. Okay, what she does with self-portraits in black, is something special. I don't know whether it's something that will go on and do more. I think this was born of a highly volatile time in a young person's life, but that person could diarize it musically, and some of the musical motifs and the bits and pieces that flow within this album are special. Now, she did this all herself, so all the drums, all the keyboards, guitar, vocals, mixing, everything is her. And I just feel that says a lot because it's complete control over her own emotions, which is difficult to have as a young person in a world as chaotic as it is at the moment. So let's jump into the album, okay? The album itself is called The Blessings of Suffering, okay? The Blessings of Suffering. Already that tells you, doesn't it? Right off the bat. The Blessings of Suffering. I'm not a religious person by any standard. You know me, I'm not, okay? But there are religions around the world that believe through suffering comes a spiritual cleansing and awakening, okay? And I sort of feel that's what's happening here. But it's still dark. It's still, I would still put it in the extreme music category. It's still very, very, very. It's not extreme as we'll talk about Which Club Satan on the B-side here, but it's definitely dark and moody and marauding and heavy and extreme for some people. This might be not everyone's taste. For me, it's extreme, but it's beautifully extreme. We open up with Cascade, as I mentioned before. It's an instrumental piece of music that I feel takes us on into the journey into Sarah's mind. Okay, we cascade. Musically, you can hear the waterfalls. You can hear the splashing torrent at the base of that waterfall as it crashes on the rocks. You can hear the way that the water is breaking the earth with every second that it lands with the force of 100, 200 meter drop. Okay, it has that cascade feel, the feel of water running over the edge of a cliff after rain. You know, it brings you in. It's a sort of subtle, almost I'd say it almost has a feel of something done by say Tangerine Dream, but a dark version of a Tangerine Dream track. It has a cinematic sensation. I was thinking of the Popol Vuh soundtrack for Nosferatu, or the good one by Werner Herzog, or the soundtrack that opens up Werner Herzog's other movie, you know, in Aguirre Rafa God, where you have all the waterfalls. It comes to me for that. We follow that with a piece of music called Venetian Romance. Sarah told me that it's about her holiday that she had with her wife in Venice, and it does have that sort of interestingly beautiful, because we come from Cascades, which is again water flowing and ancient time, beautiful, to a good memory. This is a good memory. This is a spark of happiness in what will be a rather up and down album emotionally. So it's really lovely to have this moment of beauty that is wrapped in darkness. It's a great piece of music. It's one of it's technical, but it's simple at the same time. You know, it has Flux of Pink Indians almost esque kind of sound, if you know the band. It's a beautiful search for a happy place. She is a place to go that hide from the darkness of the modern life, an immediate place of her. In this album, it feels like it's a nightmare. Sorry, that's the wrong term. It's a journey through the night when you cannot sleep, when all around you is resting. And this is that moment she uses to try and bring herself to a calm and happy place, to bring herself into that area of slumber, of which we're going to get to in the next track, because very interestingly, that's where we lead into. The sound of slumber. Now, I've tried to write all these notes down as best I could, okay? For me, the sound of slumber is a sort of a similar musical motif as the previous one. There's a lot of bass in it. It's doing a lot of the work, the bass in it. It's really beautiful, actually. It's holding up the piece of music. It has a somnambulistic feel. Like XTC's Somnambulist. It has a feel of that, you know. The voice of Sarah here is all her voices on this album are recorded way back underneath the music, as if veiled by the music, saddened by the music. You have to dig deep to get to that, but once you get to it, it's well worth it. It's they're distant, but it fits. Okay, it feels like the sadness of the night, the darkness of the night. You know, that's that sound when everyone else is sleeping, but you cannot. The people who are sounding restful, you can hear them, and you feel envy for them and anger because they are slumbering and you are not. That's what I get from this piece of music. These aren't long pieces of music, by the way. You know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's a great way to run on from Cascades. And then we get Wicked One. This could be right from that sort of proto-goth punk catalogue of 79, 80, you know. It has a baleful moan from Sarah. It's uncomplicated. The guitar parts is straightforward and simple. even though she has its ability to make complex music, it's simple and it draws it together. It gave me goosebumps, to be honestly truthful. I don't know what she's telling in this particular song, but it feels like it's the part of that dream state that she's having in the sound of slumber. The things that go on in your mind when it can't turn off. That's what I feel with the Wicked One. Now, this track coming up is my favorite track on the album. I think this is a spectacularly written piece of music. I think it's possibly will come. I think it will be in my top songs of the year very, very soon. I don't think there's going to be much to top it in the goth category for it. This is the Garden After Dark. It's an instrumental piece. Okay, it's got sinister rivulets of motion, single simple journey of one tone and texture. It's a piece of music that shouts, "Listen to me." It's a composition that's masterful, dense, also but light. It's a journey into the unknown, the dark of the night. It reminds me of that, that feeling you get where you know someone, something like the back of your hand. You know that garden or that room or that stairs or that corridor. But as soon as the light goes out, you no longer know it. You suddenly have to put your hands out to find out where you are, even though you've walked that corridor and you've walked around that bed and you've walked up those stairs a million times. You still have to fumble because everything is different in the dark. It's a delicate and addictive and smart and intelligent piece of music. It's also terrifying and mystical. It's beautiful. The refrain in it is so layered. This is worth the album price alone. If you were to buy this album to listen to it, this is worth it alone. I think this should be a single. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It's so cinematic. It could easily be the backdrop to any movie, any darkish kind of journey movie. This is it. The Garden After Dark. I think this is one of Sarah's finest moments, actually. And then we get to Let the Flower Wither. Originally, this was one of my favorite tracks. I was really, really pulled in by this hypnotic, almost religious harmonies that flow through it. It's when beauty is let go, and the flower rots in the vase. And it reminds me of brown leaves crumbling in your palm when you scrunch them as a child, in the winter in the park with your mum and dad or your friends. Or the vase of flowers that you were given in a moment of joy, but that joy is gone, that memory is gone, and you look again, and suddenly that flower is dead and gone. I think it's a story that connects deeply with Sarah and her family. She lost her father a few years ago, and I think that is a connection. I feel that's a story about her. You can almost feel the music has a heartbeat to it. It's sonically hypnotic. It feels like makes me want to slow down. I want to slow down listening to this piece of music, and I want to relax and listen to the beats. It is ambient. It is hypnotic, and it is as a flower withers. So as a flower dies slowly as you've cut it, so does this music. It sort of slowly withers down. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And then we flow into Blessed by the Wind, completely upturned from the previous one. Okay, this is early 80s bass lines, twists and turns with simple drum lines, and it has our first sing-along vocal in it, if you want to call it that way. Well, it feels like to me anyway. There's a real sort of sing-along. I actually feel that it sounds a bit like Hugh Cornwell's. It could come off of one of Hugh Cornwell's the first solo album, Hugh Cornwell of the Stranglers, that is, Nosferatu. It has that early 80s synth, mid 80s synth goth rock Susie Sue sound, right? It really does. I mean, she talks about Susie Sue a lot, and honestly, there you can really hear the influence here. But as I said before, I hear Bauhaus and Alien Sex Fiend and Sex Gang Children, all these sort of things. It's got a lovely synth drum. I don't know if it's a synth drum, but it sounds synth to me. It has a brilliant addictive bass line, and I've written in big red letters on my notebook, more of this one, please. I think this following this little triumphant here of the garden after dark, the let the flower wither, and blessed by the wind are just superb. Like, it just wonderful pieces of music, well above the talent of what people might think. People look at bands like Antagonizer and things like that and go, "Oh, they're just a heavy metal band," and they like to talk about licking pussy and all this kind of stuff or whatever. But this, you come to this, and this is real art. This is credentials. This is something that she should be highly proud of. Then we get Feeble Screams. This is the most subtle tune on the album. This comes right from the Scream to me. This comes from the Banshees 1978 Scream album. This is the most Susie-esque piece of music, I think. It has the no light, no direction sadness. This is probably the most sad track on the album for me. It feels like the screams that you make when you have nothing left. Nothing left. You cannot cry anymore. You know, when you cry so much that you get the hiccups, you're constantly taking in air to try and cry more. Babies do it, you know. My little grandson does it. And it feels that the scream is feeble. It's not feeble because you can't let screaming out of the sadness or the anger. It's because there's no air left in your lungs. It absolutely beautiful. Again, does come for me right from that tortured punk scene of proper goth, you know, from the early 80s. And then we get into Hallowed Ground. This is a sharp instrumental piece. Okay, it has a baleful whimsy that almost has a whale song feel. And this is where I said before that I came out the other side feeling sort of on an emotional roller coaster, but felt really calm and placid coming out the other side. And this is one of the reasons why, because this track here, it has sort of that sound of a whale screaming through the depths of the distance of the ocean, waiting for return, you know, waiting for that sound to come back. It almost sounds like she's going, I need help. And then that sound that someone else is returning, a wife or a friend or a family saying, yes, we're here. That's how I read it. I mean, it could be different. It could mean different things. I mean, you know, just because it's called Hallowed Ground doesn't mean it's about churchyards or graveyards or so on. You know, Hallowed Ground could be that peaceful time on the base of on the ocean floor where no one is there but the whale, just waiting for its return. Absolutely beautiful. It's it has that single lingering note that just really makes the hair on the back of your arms stand up. And then we move into Void Whisperer. Okay, this is a semi-instrumental piece. This is the heaviest number on the album by a long way. It definitely how do I say here? Yes, it's almost a doom in its music. All right, it feels ancient, like something from the H.P. Lovecraft universe. It has that sort of ancient voidness, void whisperer, as it says. It feels like she's talking into the dark, lying in that moment of night where you cannot sleep. We've already talked about it. There is everyone else of them is slumbering away and restful, and she is whispering into the void, into the space, into the ancient times. Sarah's vocal here is very subtle. there's an eternal bleakness to the tone and the voice. It feels endless, but it feels comforting, strangely, even though it is dark and the music is doomy and semi-aggressive. You know, has a sound of ancient drums beating in the caverns of the dark. You know, a bit Lord of the Ringsy, that wasn't it? But you know what I mean. It has subtleness. It has a depth and an ancientness to it. The void is ancient, speaking into the void, waiting for a return. Very much like the return of the whale song from Hallowed Ground. Okay. We move on to the last couple of tracks. We have Memory, which is an instrumental piece. The subtle tones of this on the guitar are just sort of are about as baleful and beautiful as they can be on this album. What might think of heavy metal and a heavy music and extreme music and avant-garde music, this something is a piece of music that defies that completely. Again, in that void of darkness, in that time when you cannot sleep, in the busyness and the noisiness and the fuzziness of the brain, this music is that thing. It's that memory, isn't it? For her father, her friends, her loved ones. Okay, you know, it is something to do with the memory of your friend and your loved one. Okay, it really, really is. I think this is a subtle and intelligent touch. There's an understanding of music here. Feel a real understanding of how music is created, how you play it, what does what. There's a real intelligence behind this piece of music. This isn't just 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, 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 loud, loud, loud. This is someone who knows how to trigger an emotion with an instrument. This track is beautiful. Memory. Take your time now. If you're listening to this album or have listened to it before or going to listen to it, just to sort of stop at Memory, because we've only got 2 tracks left, 2 beautiful instrumental tracks. Just let that piece of music wash over you and feel the emotional nuances that you gather from this beautiful piece of music. I just think it's well worth a moment to re-listen to it. It really, really is. And then we come to the last 2 tracks. We have Ostara Part 1 and Ostara Part 2. Now, Ostara is a pagan Nordic or Germanic, festival of ancient festival of nature, Gaia, Mother Earth, and so on. It is a Wiccan festival. Fertility. It's named after the Germanic goddess Estre. It's Eostre. I'm going to say it wrong. Austere or Estre. It's at the dawn of. It's about dawn and spring, new life, new light. Washing away the winter darkness. It's a perfect combination for the end of this album. These 2 pieces of music. There's a cinematic beauty in the refrain. There is a sort of, you can almost hear the birds, because there's birds tweeting in the background. You can hear the flowers blossoming. The dawn has come. So Sarah has spent this torturous night of a year listening to everyone else's rest and relaxation and wonderful stories in her own darkness, no rest in a busy brain fizzing away. But now the dawn is rising and she feels that there is new hope. So maybe she will sleep tonight now that these things have passed. There's a sort of rainstorm, the smell of the rainstorm, the rain after a storm. Okay, these 2 pieces of music marry beautiful. They're still dark. They're still flowing. I love the way they flow. They bookend with Cascade because they flow out. With Cascade flows in, Ostara Part 1 and Part 2 flow out. Okay, it's that It feels like the puddles that you tread in amongst the wet leaves after the storm of a wet night before. The whispering and the splashing of the air and the wind on empty moors. It's very cinematic. It's very, very cinematic. Anyone out there listening to this is looking for a soundtrack to be written for an album, for a movie. I think you could look no further than this particular artist and this particular album. I think it worked beautifully. I feel weirdly cleansed at the end of both these two pieces of music. They're not long, a couple of minutes each, part one and part two. But I got to the end and I felt I came out the other side like a weight off my shoulders. As I said to you at the beginning of the program, if you stuck with me, I had a terrible day. Not a terrible day. I have a great day at work, but you see things that do bring. You feel sad, and you feel you as an empath, you suck it in, you take it in, and sometimes it's good to be able to let it go. And this album really helped me that way. It sort of took me on that journey through the night, through the sleep, lack of sleep, through the mind, through the busyness, the fizziness, the ups and downs, the happiness, the sadness, the calling out for people like yourself through the whale song, reaching out for people to understand, and then the dawning that people do understand, and they're not alone because the spring has sprung and light is there. It's just an emotionally beautiful journey. I don't want to say much more about it, really. Please do, please do give me your feedback on what you think about it. I'd like to pass it on to Sarah and let her know, because I hope deep down that many listeners that listen to this will go and give it a go. Yeah, it's not hard, it's not fast, it's not aggressive, it's not angry in that respect. It is heavy and dark, it is extreme, but it's extreme in its beauty. Okay? From darkness comes beauty, right? This is going to be one of my albums of the year, and as I said, in the Garden After Dark is going to be one of my tracks of the year. Absolutely stunning. We're going to have a break now. I've chatted for half an hour, and we're going to go, and we're going to come out the other side, and we're going to talk about Witch Club Satan, the complete yang to this wonderful yin. Anyway, talk to you soon after the break.
United Health Group is simplifying healthcare by investing in tools to help patients know more and pay less. These tools help patients find providers and compare costs and save hundreds of dollars annually. Learn more at unitedhealthgroup.com/commitment.
Bye for now. Welcome back, guys, to part 2 of Heavy Metal Tones podcast. This one is the yin and yang of extreme metal. As we had in the first part, we talked about the beautiful, dark, engaging, and almost ethereal album, the first album by Self-Portraits in Black, the solo side project of Seraphim Antagonizer and Internal Blasphemer. The album being the wonderful and fantastic The Blessings of Suffering. But this is the dark side of the coin of the extreme world, as we were talking about earlier. Now, there have been a lot of extreme bands out there in the world that are a point where it's so extreme there's no longer musical, or they are so extreme that they're now in prison, they've done things they shouldn't do, the stories abound. Bands like one I'm going to talk about now, Witch Club Satan, they dance on the edge of extreme to the point of noise, but dance on that blade, the other side of the musicality and the direction and the spirit and the passion and the direction that black metal and extreme metal can have. Now, I first found this band a little while ago when they released their single Now I found them on TikTok. Strangely enough, one of those nights where I'm sprawling through the sort of endless, streams and screens of rubbish, and they had just released a single called "You Wildflower," which is not on their first album, because they've done a few singles that are not on the album. And I was instantly enamored with the sound, the aesthetic, the imagery. Like, now, they are extremely in your face. This is a proto-feminist extreme black metal band that deals with feminism, ecology, everything that's affecting the world that they live in. Now, there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of extremity in this particular single, and also the live act. The live act is full. It's a full-on experience. You do not want to go to one of their shows if you are easily offended, or put on one of their singles if you are easily offended. I highly recommend that you click on the link below when you've listened to this, and watch that YouTube single for You Wildflower, and go back and listen to the album itself. Now, the album, it came out in 2024. It's self-titled Witch Club Satan. These are three very talented, extremely passionate musicians. No, they're known for their nudity, their gore, and their occult symbolism. Yes, but I think if you take away the shock value, there's still this beauty in the darkness. Although this is, as I said, the extreme side to the coin of the previous album we talked about. They formed in Norway in 2022. They're on Lost and Found Productions on the label. Now, I'm going to try and give you their names, but please forgive me if I mispronounce them. Johanna Holt Klevi on drums and vocals, Nicoline Spiejvik on guitars, and Victoria Rosing on bass and vocals. But Nicola also is a singer. They've had some very interesting singles out. One of the videos that the group produced, and it's very bloody, but I highly recommend watching it. Don't watch it around the kids. Don't watch it around people with a bit of sensitivity. Is the single Fresh Blood, Fresh Pussy. And it was nominated for the 2024 Music of the Year Award at Spellemannsprisen. I cannot pronounce that. Let's see what that actually means. It's a Norwegian Music Award ceremony presented by the IFPI Norge and Fono. It was the first awarded in 1973, so it's a decent music award, all right? So to get a song quite like Fresh Blood, Fresh Pussy up for a Best Video Award is interesting in this day and age, because it wouldn't have happened 10, 15 years ago. So they make proto-feminism. They talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I said racism, environmentalism, feminism, and so on. The album itself is a tour de force of the darkest, heaviest, most confronting music you will ever really put your ears to in the last few years. They do get sort of compared to Mayhem, Dark Throne, Emperor, early Satiricon. A little bit of these things make sense, but I think they're well beyond that. Because if I think about bands like Dark Throne, Emperor, Satyricon, and Mayhem, they had a sprinkling of commercialism to them. They were extreme, but they had, you could consume their product quite easily and not be, and and buy their records in shops and take their covers up to the counter. And yes, there were some of them who were pretty out there, but they were more not to say easy listen, that's the wrong thing, but they were not as bleak and as dark and as balefully soulful and extreme as this band. The album itself is not that long, okay? So it came out, I said, in March 8th, 2024. It is, let me have a look, 44 minutes long. It's 12 songs. They all seem to, they don't seem to blend into a story or a narrative for me. They're just a way of expressing their views on the world, like Fresh Blood. I mean, it opens up with Birth. Again, musically, how am I going to describe this album? It's going to be difficult. I'm just going to say that it's dark noise. There is the tritone guitar, there is the eerie backbeats, there is the gaps between the notes where the vocals screech through. It does feel like a cold night in a bleak and unforgiving landscape. There is no beauty in this music whatsoever. There is beauty, as I said before. There's always a little bit of beauty, but there's nothing obvious. You have to dig for what the beauty is in this. And I think for me, the beauty in a black dark album like this, that's opposite to the previous album we talked about on the first side, when we talked about Self-Portraits in Black. This is it's like that album on 20 plus. It goes up to 11. It's extreme. Songs like Fresh Blood, Fresh Pussy, Reverse This Fuck, pardon my French, Mother C, Hysteria 2, Wild Whores, Hex, I Was Made by Fire, Salvation, Mother, Black Metal is Krieg, they're all there, like very much like the punk scene was for bands like the Slits and I'm trying to think about X-Ray Specs, as we talked about like a couple of weeks ago, where the female bands and also the sort of any bands sort of associated with Crass and all those areas, those sort of things, their music is more is not part of the main event. Okay, so when you listen to bands like the Slits and Poison Girls, the anarcho-punk band from Brighton with the singer Viv Subversia, who was a middle-aged mother of two, by the way, at the band's inception. When you listen to that kind of stuff, the anarcho-punk, which is the birth of black metal, in my opinion, I've talked about this before. The music is there to shock you, there to create talk, there to counterbalance and to thrust forward a viewpoint. And there's no much more different than this album here. Songs like Mother C, about the environment and the way that we are destroying it and overfishing it. Fresh Blood, Fresh Pussy, which is another about the abuse of young women and the sexualization of young women. In my opinion, this is what I take of it anyway. Things like this make this particular band and this album so enticing, because it's like a throwback to that time in 76 to 80 when anarcho-punk bands were playing music that was almost unlistenable at a point where it wasn't about the music. You went there because you wanted to get involved in the movement, the story, and the thing they were talking about. As I said before in the previous one, things like Flux of Pink Indians, Crass, bands like that, Chumbawamba, weren't always just about I get knocked down. They were a big narco punk band of the 80s, the Abrasive Wheels, Icon AD, The Expelled. These, Anti-System, Anti-Sect, Ambix. These are bands like Napalm Death is another good example, Extreme Noise Terror. These bands were making music that, to be honest, is not music that you would, unless you were really in the mood of it, it's not music that is soothing or easy. It is music to evoke a reaction, an emotion. And this album, Witch Club Satan's first album, the self-titled eponymous album from these three Norwegian women, is right there. It is at the cutting edge of extremity for me. It is at the point where it becomes a morass and sea of noise. And I absolutely am enthralled by the performance art that is bands like Witch Club Satan. And performance art, it is, okay? Now, it's not for everyone, as I said, but if we were trying to find an alternative, and I tried to find a female alternative for the brilliant self-portraits in black, I needed to find something where they were talking about outside of their personal space and more of the bigger world. Whereas, self-portraits is a beautiful introspective dive into the darkness and soulfulness of a journey of one single human being through a tragic year, to Witch Club Satan, where it's the point of view they're putting across is they're so impassioned and angry and want to direct that with a pummeling fist into the face of white bureaucracy, that they make this music. Now, Satanism is very, and Wiccan, as in witch, is easy a way. It's an easy point to use to shock, because even now, after all these years, there is a part of society, and my sister-in-law is one of them, where the images of Satan do offend and do upset and worry. So if you want to shock middle America, middle Europe, middle-class societies in general, the way to do it is through nudity, through violence, and through anti-Christian sentiment, and through noise, making noise. And this album has that. To be honest, it's difficult to go through track by track on this, because it's not something that I can easily break down. That's how extreme and how dark it is. It's 43 minutes, and you'll know it's 43 minutes. By the time you get to the end of this album, you will know it's 43 minutes. You have lived 43 minutes with this music. If you can hold on all the way through, then well done for those who are not new to it, because it's even the most attuned ear, this can be a difficult listen. All right, it's not the most pleasurable experience if you are not used to it. But if you're going to jump in and try the splash around in the pool of the black that is extreme proto-feminist black metal, which is a very niche market, let's be honest, this is the one for you. These ladies are at the top of their game. They know exactly what they want to say, they know exactly how to say it, and they know exactly how to shock. This is the darkness that I promised. As I said, the black, there's darkness in self-portraits, but there's a soft darkness. This is a terrifying dark edge. This is they've got a point to make, a finger to point, a fist to shake, and anger to expel. And the way that they do it, using their bodies, as in Mother Gaia, the nudity, the blood, the viscera over the nudity, and the unrelentless decibels of music and forests of darkness that they grow up around them. is something, I don't know, something different. I think this is an edge to extreme music that I don't think many of us have ever seen before. Taking the cutting edge and extremity of the anarcho-punk music movement, adding in the dark blackness of extreme black metal from their home country of Norway, using their sort of Nordic cold and visceral imagery with the bright red splashes of blood, gore, and vocalist and extreme vocalism is something, again, I think is such a difference to the first side of this program. I always thought I'd heard it all. I thought, yep, I've heard it all. I know, well, like what I know how to play around in this pool of music. I'm well versed in the way that the eddies swirl and turn, and I can stay away from the darkest depths if need be. But this one comes at you in the shallows. You might be wading through the pool of extreme music, dabbling your feet in it, thinking, oh yeah, I've got a little bit of Death Throne or Dark Throne, I've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of Satyricon, a little bit of, a little bit of Death, a little bit of, I said, Dark Throne, all that kind of stuff. You might think, a little bit of Burzum, all that. I think I know where I am. This is that shallow area where I can easily step out. But in the shallows lies Witch Club Satan, and they will pull you under like the sirens of ancient Greece. They will lure you and pull you under. And you know what? When you're in there, I don't know, you might love it, you might hate it, you might survive it. But don't think just because you're in the shallows that you can stay away from bands like Witch Club Satan, because you can't. And I don't know where they're going to go next from this album. As I said, the latest single is beautiful, both visually and musically. I think it's a little bit of a departure. It's slightly softer, if that is possible. It's not quite like Fresh Blood, Fresh Pussy. It's certainly not as easy to, as extreme as that. No. When all's said and done, these ladies are not mucking around. I think in their heart, deep down, they are true Wiccan pagan. I hate the word pagan, but Wiccan ancient acolytes of the ancient ways. And they bring that to us through their extremity and their darkness. And I think this is an album that, it's not for everyone, but I needed to find something that was really polar opposite to Self-Portraits in Black's first album. And this is it. Both female takes on the look at extreme music, both perfectly wonderful in their own little way. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give Witch Club Satan a listen. Certainly please give Self-Portraits in Black a listen. I will put links below to their albums and to their videos, and I'll see you next week. Safe night. Don't have nightmares. It's only music. You can turn it off. Bye for now.